Okay, so this eyebrow is how we're going to set it up. We're going to set it up the same as this one. It's a little bit different the way this has been done. What we can have a look at is how this has been set up. This control is really no different. However, what we're doing is we're setting these up, which is exactly the same sort of system we've used for everywhere else in the face. So we'll set those up on the other side to make sure they're correct. But the difference being is that I am actually wiring to X and Y only. I haven't actually hooked up the Z axis, and we probably should, so I can pull it in and out as well. The way it's done with the X and Y though is X right now has been wired to it with a couple multipliers. So depending on whether we're going positive here, you'll see that this control here is moving slower than when I go the other way. And I'm actually multiplying them both a fair bit down, so by 0.1 and by 0.3. Same on the other side, except inversely. And then what I'm doing is I've actually put a list controller on the Y-axis, wired the Y, and then I'm actually affecting the weight of it with a wire as well. So let's go and try it on the other side, and you'll see where I'm going with this. Again, let's set up the groups so that we're grouped correctly. And I'm going to say don't affect children. And in this case, I didn't actually align them to any other orientation to start with, and then directly to the control. So in XYZ orientation only. And then of course then we group both of them so that they have a parent that's aligned to them, and those will still be parented down to the end control here, the main control of the head, so that when when the head moves, they move, obviously. The eye control itself is just parented down to the same point helper down there. And now what we need to do is we need to go in and actually connect these up. Let's do the Y first, because that's the more complex one. I'm going to set list controllers on both these, as I always do. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a more complex one. We can go back to the X and do that next, but let's actually do the Y for this. Now what we need to do here is in the Y, we're actually going to assign a new controller. We're going to say a float list. So now what we've got is a list controller nested inside a list controller. The reason I'm doing it this way is that the list controller has a weight available to it. So I can actually weight the amount on and off, which is the nice part. So you can actually take the tracks and affect the weights of them. I'm going to leave the first one as it is, and I'm going to connect up to the available track. The reason I'm going to do that, and not just to this one, is that I've found instances where if you ramp a list controller down to 0 and there's no input coming from it, it's just 0, it kind of causes some issues sometimes. So again, I always like to start on the second track in this case and leave this one for adjustments if I had to. So what I'm going to do is go to wire and wire the available track of the list controller that's on the Y position to the Y position on the animation track, and I'm going to connect it so that now it goes up and down directly. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to go and do exactly the same thing. Sorry, we need to add the list controller to start with, so we'll go in and add the float list, and now we can say that available track again back to here. So what we have now is just a 1-to-1. Go up and down. It doesn't matter if we go sideways at this point. Nothing else is happening. So now what we need to do is we need to connect it up inversely, so that when we slide it side to side, it actually weights this in the other direction. Now what some people don't realize is that list controllers can actually have a negative weight to them, and will actually start pushing them in the other direction in some cases. On things like constraints, it won't work. It'll just ramp them off. But in the case of Bezier float controllers, 200